Hello, this video is going to go over the workflow that happens when beginning a website, especially a smaller website. There may be a lot more steps involved in a larger site, but for under 50 pages, this would be a process I would expect to happen. And it's tied to one of your assignments this semester. So I'm going to go through these things in order, and I'll go through them. Well, as I go through them, I'll point out what I would expect to see from you with the assignment. You still need to read the instructions in the final site flowchart wireframe color palette assignment. Make sure you check all the details, but I'll point out to you some of the things that people have a tendency to miss, and I want you to do the very best you can on it. So I'll go through a little of it, but be sure to read through the whole thing. So usually when planning a site, in an ideal scenario, you already have content. You might have content from an existing site or newly written content. So if you have content, then you can start to figure out what pages are actually going to be on the site. And in the process of figuring out the pages, you also need to figure out how the pages connect to one another, which is what you're looking at here. This sample is part of that flowchart wireframe assignment, so you'll be able to sorry, I'm trying to zoom here at the same time. You'll be able to look at this yourself and get however much information you want to get out of it. I'm just not getting it at the zoom I want. Apologize here. Anyway, what we've got is this says home. And there we go. That's a little better. Oh, this is going to jump on me. So try one more time. There we go. So we have home. And then from there, this is a little pixelated. I know you can't read what the heck it says. This reads members and this reads public. So in the case of this site, what would happen is what's being illustrated in this flowchart is how the pages connect to each other, and that's what I expect you to illustrate in yours. So we have a home page, and from the home page you can literally choose either members or public. If you chose members, you got these options in this section here: newsletter, forms, membership information, executive board, mission statement, election. If you from the home page chose public, you got these options: duties, history, State Constable Association, meet your constable, which then led to the bios, and executive board, mission statement, and election. So you can see here that pages that are specific to the members only section are in this color, public in that, dedicated to that section color, and then the overlap would be these colors. And when there's multiple pages that are the exact same thing that are accessible from a particular page or pages, you can demonstrate them like this, or it says bios, and it shows that I've got like approximately 50 pages that are bios. So it just shows that there's many of them there and they're all accessible through that area. So that is one version of a flowchart. Now this is showing you how things connect. You can get from members to public, members to home, public to members, public to home. So that is all a flowchart should do. The lines do mean something, so be sure you put them in as they, as things connect to one another. So then we have this flowchart. It's another example that is also available through Canvas, and we start out with the home page. And from there, you had a choice, in this case, of choosing, the user had a choice of choosing an elementary school that they were interested in, and we're using Rover Elementary School as an option, or as the one selected. From Rover, or from their gallery page, not their elementary school page, you could choose to go to their website, the actual school website. You could look at a project, an art project. You could look at the archive of projects, and then it goes down from there. So you can see that this is more detailed. It has more information in it. So you got home and Rover gallery page, and then from there it says project 1, 2, 3 with 4 images, each image with student name and grade. And then when you get there, then these pages will have thumbnails on them, which it doesn't say, it just says with 4 images, but they're thumbnails. And if you click on one of those little images, then you would get a large image on its own page. So that is how this flowchart works. After a flowchart, before you do any design, you should then do what's known as a wireframe, which is strictly functional. There's no design in here. What you want to do is you want the user to understand approximately, well, where things will be. The proportion might change when a designer sees this. And also what information will be represented on the page. So banner ad goes up here, logo here, main navigation here. Oh, we plan on this being 800 pixels wide. Clearly this is an older wireframe. And 600 pixels tall, but right here 520 pixels tall. That's where we anticipate the page break on being on a smaller monitor. So this is where the key information will be. And then left navigation, related links, intro text, feature section, all that. Another version of a wireframe shows, it actually gives you the names of the navigation items, and again just shows you sub-nav goes here, content here, related highlights. So you're getting the smallest sense of proportion, but more importantly you're getting what type of content goes where. Now, how many wireframes do you need to do for the site? You can have more than one type of page with the 10-page site. So if you have, in some instances, like you'll take this example, in some instances you have a locator form, and in other instances you have something different over here on this left side, or maybe you don't have a left sidebar on some pages, then you would do more than one wireframe. So if you had like pages that were just content, text and images, and then maybe you had product pages, and then maybe you had a contact form that you wanted to just let them know, maybe that was laid out, you know, slightly differently. This is not about design in here. Again, this is just function. It's information hierarchy. So people see, oh, okay, these are the things I can expect. Or it's information architecture, I shouldn't say hierarchy. The wireframe had more to do with the hierarchy. And then lastly, we have a color palette. Now, oh, and I should say that these wireframe examples and color palette example, these are from a book called Web Redesign 2.0, and you can find that on Amazon. It's a very old book. Many of the principles in here still apply to, or in that book, still apply to what goes on in web firms today. A lot of things are shifting. They're becoming more agile, more dynamic, but these principles do have to get addressed somehow throughout the development process. So again, before any design of mocks happens, you have to come up with a color palette. Now you may, when you submit your color palette, you may decide to turn in something, one of the pages of the color palette to look like this. You may decide to do a completely different color palette. Here's what I want to know. I want to know the pages that you are, or I'm sorry, the colors you are most interested in using. What colors will be used for what? So is it going to be an accent color? Is it going to be used all over the place, like background colors? Is it going to be a text color? How are these colors going to be used? And what are their hexadecimal numbers? And why did you choose the colors you chose? So read the assignment because it tells you exactly what I'm telling you right now. This is just one example of how to set up a color palette, and it is not the only way. I've seen people do it a number of ways. Now, all of these examples can be created in either Photoshop or Illustrator. There are other programs out there that are designed a little more to help with, for instance, a wireframe or a flowchart, but really with the amount of time most students have, you don't want to have to figure out a new piece of software that you're using just for this class. So I'm very okay if you just use Photoshop or Illustrator to create these pieces. Read through the assignment, make sure you hit on every detail. I do go through, you know, all the little components and make sure you get them all. And then once this is done, then you'll be ready to do a mock. Now the idea behind all this is that the client has seen, and your team, if you're on a team of developers, everyone has seen this stuff before design goes into play. The client has reviewed certain things, like they've reviewed the sitemap, they've reviewed the wireframe, they've reviewed the color palette, and they might have even made modifications. But once they give the okay on that, you'll have a far more successful experience when you present mocks, and actually as you're designing the mocks. If you hand them off to a bunch of designers, they'll understand what needs to happen better when all this planning happens ahead of time. And the client's usually far more satisfied with the results because they have an idea of what's coming their way.